Clemson got just what it needed in this week's 66-17 rout over the Charleston Southern Buccaneers, but it wasn't a perfect weekend. The Tigers fell out of the top 25. I'm going to tell you more about that, what they did right, what they did wrong, and what to expect heading into Florida Atlantic Week right here on the All Clemson Tigers Show Sunday Reset. Welcome into the Sunday Reset here on the All Clemson Tigers Show. Thanks for joining. I'm your host, Brad Sankoff, the executive editor over at allclemsontigers.com. This is the show where I tell you what happened over the weekend and get you ready for next week. Clemson got on the board in the win column, bouncing back on a short week from that loss to Duke on Monday night. And the Tigers, however, did fall out of the top 25. Now, they were ranked number 9 after the Duke loss. The Tuesday poll came out because of the extended week, and they dropped all the way to 25th. And even though they won on Saturday, they still fell out on Sunday as 4 teams dropped completely out of the top 25 that were previously ranked. Now, the teams that fell out, the other 3 all lost. Clemson, of course, won. But because of some strong performances by UCLA, Washington State, Miami, and Iowa, those 4 teams moved up. Clemson was sort of the odd man out this weekend. This one, it ends a streak of 21 consecutive releases with the Tigers in the AP Top 25 poll, dating back to 2021. They've got some work to do to get back in there, and a game coming up I'll tell you more about shortly. Before I break down how the Week 2 game went against Charleston Southern, it was a big moment for Dabo Sweeney. He coached in his 100th home game. That's 100 games inside of Death Valley, and Coach Sweeney now improved to an astounding 92-8 all-time at Memorial Stadium. And after the game, he gave us this.
We're still going. We're still going. And I know a lot of y'all probably want me to be gone now, but we're still hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. We're still going.
I'm not sure that's the analogy I would have gone with there, but hey, it sticks. Now let's take a look at what the Tigers did right in this game. And let's start with the quarterback play. Cade Klubnik did have those early turnovers, looked a little shaky. There were some other things there we'll get to that I didn't like from his game. But in terms of what he did well, he fought back mentally. He did not let those mistakes wear him down. He didn't let them take over his psyche and turn him into just this, melting quarterback in front of our eyes. No, he bounced back. He came out, threw a couple of touchdown passes, got his mojo back, settled in, I think, to what he needed to be. 315 yards passing, 28 of 37, 4 touchdowns. He did have that one pick, and he was responsible for that fumble. But other than that, Cade Klubnik really showed something in this game. Now, you have to keep in mind what the competition level was, but still, it was greatly needed by him to sort of just right the ship and feel his way through some difficult early moments. The offense as a whole enjoyed a really good day. 679 yards of total offense. That is the most since putting up 702 against Wofford back in 2019. And the Tigers were able to rack up 37 first downs in this game. It's the 31st time Clemson has gone over 600 yards in the school's history. As you would expect against an FCS team, you need to create explosives. Clemson did that. 4 passes went for 20 yards or more, including the longest play of the season thus far, a 69-yard pass to Bo Collins, who came in on a slant, took it the distance, almost got caught from behind, but Bo Collins puts up a 100-yard day, the first receiver to do that here in the 2023 season. A $137 on 7 catches and that huge touchdown. And I think Troy Stellato deserves a shout-out, too, for things that went right. A young man who has been in the program for now 3 years, has hardly seen the field, and only played in a couple games before yesterday, got healthy near the end of fall camp, 5 catches, 51 yards, a really good promising performance to build upon. He probably passed a couple of guys that he was behind on the depth chart now. I think that on an offense that needs more help receiving-wise, Troy Stellato was a big, big addition to this receiving core this week, and we'll see if he continues to grow in that spot. Clemson defense looked really good at times in this game, really most of the game. There was a couple plays here and there that maybe got away from them, where, eyes in the wrong place kind of thing. But you hold your opponent to under 100 total yards. I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive. 73 total yards for Charleston Southern's offense in this game. The Clemson defense was really able to just kind of impose their will and be dominant up front and take away their run lanes. And this is not a team in Charleston Southern that's going to air it out very well against many teams. And Clemson did a good job of keeping everybody in front of them and using their pressure and just stifling everything that Charleston Southern wanted to do, especially after they built that early lead of 14-7. I thought you saw better energy from the defense, and I also thought you saw even better play from TJ Parker. He's a young man I've talked about many times on this channel, the freshman defensive end. 3 tackles for a loss in this game, 1 quarterback hurry. He is on the fast track to playing time. In fact, I still say, and I predicted this before the season started, that by the end of week 3, TJ Parker is getting a lot of playing time. Doesn't mean be a starter. It just means in more and more reps, I think he's on his way there. Before I get into some things Clemson didn't do quite as well in this game, make your plans now. Monday Night Live with Jason Priester is back. Of course, he was in Durham this past Monday, unable to do the show here on the YouTube channel, but he is back. Get your questions ready. Get them in for Jason, 7 p.m. Monday Live. Turnovers continue to be a problem with this team, and especially Cade Klubnik, who didn't protect the ball well on Saturday. You saw that with the fumble. You saw that with the interception where he's just sort of rolling around back there and just launching the ball up. You know, he did that another time later on in the game, and it cost them an intentional grounding and a down. And so, like, he's just, in my opinion, playing a little bit too much YOLO ball, trying to make everything happen on every play. And he's just got to learn that sometimes you take the sack. You live to see another down. There's also a couple pass catchers on this team just trying to find their flow. We saw that on Saturday. Still not really involved enough in the offense. One of those being tight end Jake Brenningstool. Brenningstool was targeted 5 times in this game. He did have 3 catches for 15 yards. Those are very modest numbers for him. He did get a look in the red zone and was a little thrown over his head. But you got to get this guy more involved. He's too big, 6'6", big body. Clemson will find a way to use him more. It's just kind of perplexing right now why it's not happening. Another receiver who still hasn't found his way into the mix is Adam Randall. Through 2 games, 5 targets, 3 receptions, just 15 total yards in those 2 games. This is a starting outside receiver at Clemson, okay? You're supposed to produce more than that, and you got to start to wonder if he doesn't pick it up, if he doesn't find his flow, do you see other guys get more opportunities? Clemson was down one of their outside receivers in this game, and Randall wasn't able to take advantage of it with more reps, more opportunities. So got to keep a close eye on Adam Randall going into week 3. If you want to know more about what the Clemson Tigers did in this game, go check out my weekly column, What We Learned from This Week 2 Victory. You can check it out over at allclemsontigers.com and get signed up for our brand new membership package. It's Death Valley Domain. You'll get in-depth work like I put up there today with the What We Learned. Also more recruiting insights from Jason Priester, insider reports, and a whole lot more. It's $4.99 a month. Go join today, Death Valley Domain. Florida Atlantic comes to town this week. Tigers taking on the Owls at 8 p.m. at Memorial Stadium. And this is an FAU team that is now 1-1 on the season under new head coach Tom Herman. They beat Monmouth 42-20 back in week 1, and then this past game struggled offensively mightily against the Ohio Bobcats. They lost 17-10. Casey Thompson, the quarterback, and he was formerly at Texas, also played in Nebraska a year ago. He went over to join Tom Herman, his old coach, when they were with the Longhorns over at FAU. And he had a rough game, really rough game. 180 yards, completed about 55% of his passes. He had no touchdowns and 2 interceptions against Ohio. So that's a struggling quarterback whose confidence may be a little bit shaky. He's a veteran, but he's not coming off of a very strong outing. Before I let you know what to pay attention to heading into week 3, I want to remind you that we're going to be out at Magnetic South Brewery in downtown Anderson coming up on Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. It's the Week 3 preview show live from Magnetic right here on the YouTube channel. We want you to come out and join us. We got all kinds of free swag to give away. You can hang out with myself and Zach Lentz, the publisher. All right, let's take a look at some storylines heading into Week 3. And, not a whole lot came out of the Charleston Southern game in terms of injuries or things you need to take note of from that standpoint. except for two guys who did not play in the games. Andrew Makuba, the safety, works in that nickel role for the Tigers. He's a starter, unavailable with a lower body injury, as was the receiver Cole Turner, who's sort of a, or on the depth chart in terms of the first team. But neither one of those guys played against Charleston Southern, just to give them a week of rest. They, if it was a big, huge game, would they have gone? Probably so, but understandably, Dabo Sweeney felt like it was important to hold them out. Where are they at this week? Do they play against FAU? I think they need another week to get ready. I mean, they only played one game, but I think because of the short turnaround week, that's why they set out. I expect them to play against FAU, but it's something to keep an eye on going throughout the week. Protecting the football, it's something Clemson has not been able to do. How do they address it going into this third game of the season? They're 104th nationally in turnover margin. Dead last in the ACC, -2. That has got to change. They've got to protect the ball better. So what do we hear from the coaches, the players this week on how they can do that? The Duke game obviously was one of the most troublesome turnover games you'll see in the Dabo Sweeney era, with those 2 fumbles down in the red zone. And then, of course, 2 more turnovers this past week that hurt them and put them in a hole against an FCS team that they could dig it out of. It's not always going to be the case every week. They've got to start protecting the ball better. We'll see how that goes in week 3. This is the last chance, the last warm-up game before things get real. Florida State, a top 5 team nationally, comes to town to take on the Tigers on September 23rd, and they've got to figure some things out. Clemson has got to get better again, with, like I said, with the turnovers, but there's other areas. Improve your defensive pass rush. Get more from the offensive line. Get Cade Klubnik even more comfortable. Start using different parts of the offense. Get some of these receivers really going who have gotten off to a slow start. It's a lot of work to do. This is the final game before the Tigers take on Florida State. They've got to clean some things up. Make sure you check out allclemsontigers.com all week for news, updates, features, and a whole lot more. And stay tuned here on the All Clemson channel for the press conference throughout the week. Thank you for tuning in to Sunday Reset. I'll be back next week, and I'll be at Magnetic South on Friday. Check you out then. Take care. Enjoy week 1 in the NFL.